Try pushing in more. Okay, hit the live button. Okay, go back to your Zoom. And we are live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Rising Up with Jeryl. I am so excited to be here with you all tonight. And my very special guest this evening is Jane Mountrose. I've known Jane for, around 6 years now. Jane has been my teacher, my coach, my mentor. And I want to read you a little bit about Jane. And I'm going to have to read this because this is a woman who has done so much, it blows me away. Jane is a widely recognized pioneer and expert in the fields of life coaching and healing. She's a writer, minister, and trainer with 30 years of experience in spiritual development and powerful techniques for healing. Along with her husband, Philip, Jane serves primarily as a founding director of Awakenings Institute, a nonprofit organization devoted to creating a more loving world where each individual's unique gifts are honored and nurtured. Jane's passion in life and greatest joy revolves around helping people to overcome personal challenges, discover their purpose, their reason for being alive, and to create vibrantly wonderful lives. Accelerated personal and spiritual development are central to the Mountrose's teachings and their personal sessions with clients. Welcome, Jane.
Oh, thank you, Jeryl. And I would add Jeryl is a special friend of mine now too.
Yeah.
We've stayed connected and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, you have helped me through some of the most trying times of my life and on this journey. And I have to say, I thought about you a lot today, Jane, and I thought about your life coach class. And I know we didn't talk about going here, but I just want to touch on this a minute. You know, when I started your course, it's a year-long course to be a holistic life coach. I had just recovered from alcohol and cigarette addiction, and I had just gone into releasing a pot addiction. And I was on this road to self recovery. And taking that course, I believe it with my whole heart and soul to this day that that is what kept me sober. It kept me from not going back into those addictions. And actually, during the course, every year I would let go of another addiction. My addiction
Right.
to sugar, if you remember, that was harder than the alcohol, cigarettes, and pot. And I was around the clock drinker. If my eyes were open, I was
Wow.
drinking, smoking, doing drugs. Okay. Sugar was the worst one for me. And I'll never forget, Jane, you helped me through that so much. And I found that the techniques that you guys taught is what really helped me to get to the deep levels of stuff because it was the addictions for me were a way of numbing out. And those, everything that you do in your courses, including the soul centering, which we'll be doing tonight, you're going to be teaching us that, helped me to not go back into those addictions to get numb again. It helped me to move through them and heal. So, in this time, with all of the chaos in the world right now, how are you finding that your students? I would think this would be the perfect time to be in your course because all the stuff that must be coming up for them is addressed. And what what's been your experience so far?
Well, it feels actually like people are more focused, which is interesting. That I think one of the general, you could say, reactions to all of these things that are happening is we realize more clearly what's important to us. And I think those of us who feel like we have a purpose or mission to help other people, as you do, and so many others, and I do, obviously, that that we feel like we really have to stand up now
Yeah.
in whatever ways we can. And you're a good example. It's beautiful what you're doing right now. And I
Okay.
think with since we're so isolated, and I'm in California, we've been in a stay-at-home order for more than 2 weeks now, and actually overall, it's been more than 2 weeks. And this is our way of connecting.
Yeah.
Really, and that's one of the things I think that is really poignant about the whole thing is the kind of the social isolation.
Yeah, it
You know,
is.
Philip and I, we get up every day and it's us, and we have two really lovely little dogs. They jump around and and help a little bit, but
Yeah.
this is this things like this are how we connect. And of course, for you having this podcast on Saturday night where people can kind of settle in with a glass of wine or whatever they want to do,
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
beautiful.
Well,
So
thank
yeah, I
you.
think it just is focusing people.
I think it is. And so are you finding that your students right now, are they processing a lot of, like, are they going through a lot of fears, or is that something, because I know when we were going through the course, and I've gone through it a couple of times, we were kind of doing pretty mundane 3D things. I mean, it seems
Right.
to me at this point pretty kind of mundane in 3D. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was important at the time, don't get me wrong, but we were healing, past life issues, we were healing addictions, we were healing all of these patterns that we had brought with us. Well, there's some bigger stuff going on now. So,
Right.
are you seeing this reflected in your classes?
Yeah, and I think well, I think we started a spiritual first aid kind of course and support group too, and we for that we created what we call a coaching wheel. I don't know, you might have seen that, where we mentioned some of the things that are happening. I have some of them here. All of the things we're dealing with all of these things at once: fear of illness and possibly death, isolation from others and the lives we've taken for granted up until now, financial instability, loss of freedom and normalcy, emotional turmoil, future uncertainty, and even more. To
Right.
have all of that at one time, actually, we mentioned this in our first class with that group, and people really went into a healing crisis over it. And I think just for to look at it all together, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
and and I think one of the things that really occurred to me when we did that, when we did the coaching wheel and started looking at all the aspects of this that occurred to me as being really poignant, is all of us are going through a grieving process.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that alone has a lot of depth to it. It's something that needs to be honored, and you have to allow it. I remember actually one of our students, she when the night actually when we were talking about this all of these things all at once, she started crying, and we did some healing work, and it didn't really help. And just a few days ago I talked with her again, and she said she cried all night and she cried part of the next day, and then she was out of it, and then she was she was beaming, like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
saw, well, yes, this is really also time for us to shine. But we
Absolutely.
do have to be honest about what we're going through. You can't just like shuffle it under the carpet and say, well, no big deal. Just I'm beyond all that. I can
Yeah.
handle it.
And I think that's a really common thing for those of us light workers, in that it's been kind of a thing in the spiritual community that we have these lofty ideas and goals and ideas, but that, we shouldn't, we see the bigger picture. So, we
Right.
shouldn't feel those things. And the truth of it is, unless we heal those things underneath, we can't be the light worker that we need to be to show everybody the bigger picture. I know Terry Angel and I and Kevin Morris are doing a grief workshop as well. We've done it once and we're going
Right.
to do it again tomorrow. And it is important that we acknowledge those things, that the grief and all these different fears that we have, then we can release them in whichever way. And there's a myriad of ways. And also, I think your soul centering technique that we'll be doing really helps you to get in touch with what that is. I mean, really helps you to get centered enough to see where your fear is at, to see
Right.
where, where your higher self kind of wants you to go to do some healing so that you can be the light worker that you came here to be. There has to be
Right.
a balance.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. And I think actually, even in normal times, working with clients, there are two kind of two main things that I see that are their problem. And the number one is they're not centered. And I think a lot of people haven't even had an opportunity to learn how to just center yourself in in the truth of who you are, and in a place where then you have access to higher wisdom and guidance too,
Right.
which is the resource, as you suggested, the resource you really need to be able to process all of this and decide, well, what's right for me now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention another thing. I think that is, I mean, this is going really deep. I did some healing work with a group of women the other day, teaching a. We have a spiritual healing technique that we have developed that is very powerful, probably our most powerful process. So I was working with this group of women, demonstrating it and teaching it, and one thing that came up, which I think is another like really really deep kind of an area, is the sense that we've been abandoned by God.
Yeah.
It's like, how could this happen?
Right.
How, if there's a loving God, could this happen to us?
Yeah.
How could so many people be suffering? And that's a that's a really tough one.
It is. And that's one I think that most spiritual people wouldn't even want to admit
Right. It's
is
hard.
in.
Yeah, it's hard to even talk
Yeah,
about it.
it is. It is. I mean, even when you said it, it kind of like, oh, but you know, what we understand it, you and I, and many, many of our viewers out there understand what we're going through from a spiritual standpoint. And let's face it, we've all been asking for this for a long time. But when we come into these places, and this is unprecedented and it completely, it's those core beliefs for anyone that was raised in the church, for anyone that has any kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, any kind of religious upbringing where you're taught that God is a punishing God, that, Jesus died for your sins. And um, there's so much tangled up in that from our
Hmm.
childhoods,
Right.
from the, let's face it, up until the time we're age 7, everything goes into your subconscious mind as truth.
Right.
And so I don't know about you, but I don't remember everything that I was told, but I know I was taken to church every single week. And we didn't go to Sunday school. We sat in church with mom and
Hmm.
dad the whole time.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so we have those thoughts in the back of our mind. And so, yes, I can see what you're saying, but that would be, it's not as if we don't, it's almost like having a split personality. It's not as if we don't see the bigger picture. It's that there's some of that other stuff that we didn't even put in there. And maybe it's from another lifetime, who knows, but that we really need to look at. And
Hmm.
thank you for bringing that up, because this
Yeah.
is not easy stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Well, then you're getting into kind of the core of the illusion too.
Yeah.
The illusion is that we're separate, and we
Yes.
all have our own version of how that is. I know years ago, before I learned soul centering or any of it, and I was very interested in spiritual development. And Philip and I would go to meetings with other spiritual people, and I would be embarrassed. And the reason I would be embarrassed is because I believed deep down inside, and I don't know why, I believed that I was deeply flawed and that anyone who was spiritually aware would see it. So it's like, you know, I just was so ashamed of myself,
Right.
and there was no, I had nothing, no specific reason for believing that that I can be aware of now. But we all have our version of that, kind of like, well, I'm not deserving, or I'm flawed, or there's something wrong with me, whatever it is. I'm not good enough, I'm whatever. We have that, and that is actually kind of the bottom line of the whole thing, is our perception of who we are.
Yeah.
Because if the illusion is that we're separate and alone rather than connected and in the arms of the creator, you could say, however you understand that,
Mm-hmm.
um, then it's all about, well, what is stopping us from being at one with God, being at one with our creator. And I'm not I'm not saying you have to express it in any particular way. However a person
Right.
understands it is perfect, because it's all the same. It's all the oneness.
And
And
don't you, one of the things that I was thinking about today as I was prepping, and I was listening to some other YouTube videos, we have been taught to believe in the illusion of separation, and it is an illusion. We
right.
are all divine sparks of God, source, creator, whatever anybody wants to call it. There is no separation. And don't you find it remarkable, at least I do, that this is a global pandemic? There is no separation. When we went through 9/11, it was just us here in the States. When there have been tsunamis in other parts of the world, or earthquakes, or the big fires in Australia, it
Right.
always affected one part of the world. This is the first time the entire world is feeling it. And not only are we not separate on a spiritual level, but we're finding we're not separate on a physical level either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is one of the great lessons that we are going to learn on the other side. That when we get to the other side of this, I think this will be one of the things that we see.
Right. Right. And of course, our message, the essence of our message is that love is the answer,
Yes.
because love is connectedness. It's the absence of separation or any kind of judgment. It is, and we're learning now we have to love each other.
Yes. And I think
Blaming other people or any group of
yeah,
people, or
that
it
isn't
doesn't,
going to
it
work.
can't serve us now. I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
it just too.
And the truth is, where there is love, there cannot be fear. And what we're
Right.
really experiencing is fear. And I want to bring up, just for a moment, Jane, because this was something that a Facebook friend of mine had, Julie Kiss in New York. Hi, Julie. Thank you, sweetheart, for this. I'm going to scooch because I got to kind of move around a little bit. Here's the thing, Jane. So it says, what do I want to be during COVID-19? I love this because when this first came out, I think most people were in the fear zone. And in the fear zone, it's, I grab food, toilet paper, medication that I
Right.
don't need. I
Yeah,
mean,
I never understood
seriously,
the toilet paper thing.
well, I think I got a handle on that. And I think it's because people are working at home and all the kids are at home. And so
You
typically
need a lot of it.
you need a lot more. I'm telling you, I think there's a little of everything in there. I'm hoping, I'm giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. Okay. And so the other is I spread emotions related to fear and anger. I complain frequently. I forward all messages received, and I get mad easily. And it's really true. When this first started happening and we started hearing about it, and when it really started to impact us, people went into panic and fear and anxiety. And, and you guys in California, you guys were hit with it quicker than we were over here on the East Coast. I mean, it was Washington State, I think, and you in California. So you got this fear quicker, and the information, when it hit you guys, we didn't have all the information. That we just went on lockdown this week, April 1st. So
Right.
we have way more information than what you guys did when it first started hitting you in California. Did you see this a lot? Or
People going into fear.
yeah, yeah. I mean, now I know when I went out to the store when it first started happening a few weeks ago here, the conversations I heard were amazing. There was so much fear. It just almost made me physically sick.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Philip or Philip. It's not. It's not about Philip.
Good.
People, it's interesting. People here aren't talking.
Really?
Which is, well, it's part of it. It's kind of like you can spew, you
Yeah,
might be spewing something.
right.
And I'm assuming that's part of it. We just went to the store the other day and it was so quiet because nobody was talking to anybody. And nobody, people weren't even looking at each other. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, they're, because you want to keep social distancing. So they're there with their carts, kind of avoiding you. And
Yeah.
that's the main thing. Um,
But you're
when actually
empathic.
in our neighborhood, there's a little park down the street, and Philip and I walk down there and walk through the park a lot now. And
Yeah.
don't have many places we can go. And it's a little different there when we see people. I kind of feel like, oh, a person, look.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I
It is.
respond. But I think people are in a lot of fear. That's what I'm saying about at the store. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like,
and
oh,
you're
what's wrong with this
empathic.
person.
You feel energy. You feel people when you're around them. So I'm sure, and I learned real quick. I went to, and it was interesting. The next time I went to the store, I went to the store in my tiny little town, and I was kind of in the city. I think there were like 10,000, 15,000 people in the city, maybe 20,000. And I
Mm-hmm.
went to my little town store, and it was interesting. In just a week's time, the energy had started to shift. And this lady and I both reached for something on in the dairy, and she's like, "Oh no, you take it." And I said, "Oh no, 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 you take it. It's okay." And that, like, there was plenty for 10 of us there, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the energy had changed once the initial shock, and of course that's part of the grieving process as well, is that initial shock and denial that we go through. So now, once I think there is still some fear out there, but I think we've kind of moved into that learning zone where it's you start to give up what you can't control. You stop compulsively consuming what hurts me, from food to news. We all kind of went through that, oh my gosh, watching the
Have to
news
be
all the
especially careful, with everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And people are starting to identify what they're feeling. I mean, once the shock wears off, you kind of sit back and go, whew, where am I at? Um, and we become aware of the situation and how to think and how to act. We start to evaluate the information before we spread it out there. I know I was in the very beginning, I was getting bombarded in Messenger and everything else about this. And in fact, I even sent out an audio that I thought sounded very legitimate. And then I got to the point I didn't open any of them up. And then I like this one too in the learning zone is I recognize that we are all trying to do our best, and when some of the craziness started happening, there's this part of me that I had this knee jerk of responding, kind of striking back. And then I had to stop and go, you know what? People are scared, and
Mm-hmm.
when you get scared, you get angry, or you try to find some way of releasing that fear, or you got to take it out. It's got to express somehow. And so I thought, I stepped back and went, you know what? Another friend said, man, I've never seen this person get crazy like this. And I said, you know what? We've never seen these times before. So there
Right.
is going to be some crazy, and we really need to step back and have some compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's interesting though that crime is down. I
yes,
think that's a beautiful thing.
well, can I tell you a cute story?
Yeah.
We have this angelic river family, and Terry and I broadcast every morning at 7:30 a.m. We go out to the river and broadcast, and we have coffee and conversation with Wally, our gator, out by the river. Well, our moderator is Wendy, and Wendy lives in the UK, and she works for the police department. She's a dispatcher, or
Mm-hmm.
the person
Mm-hmm.
that takes the calls. And she told us, she said, crime is down because the criminals don't want to go out and catch the virus. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, that makes total sense. It makes complete sense. I know one of Terry's relatives, he's a detective. He's having his hours cut back because that everything is shifting. You know, it's not, we're never going to go back to normal. We're never going to see that
I know.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be something. It'll be a new normal, but it is interesting
Normal.
because thinking about it, and it's part of the grieving process, I suppose. All of the simple little things that we enjoy,
Yeah.
we have our work and it keeps us pretty busy, frankly, even now. Um, and then we have the simple things we do that we enjoy. Well, like going out to a restaurant or
Yeah.
going to a store, or going. Of course, we still can go to the beach here. If
Oh, can you?
not
Okay.
state parks. California's beaches are actually open. They're all open. In
Okay.
other words, all beaches are supposed to be accessible. State parks can be closed now. So there any
Okay.
of the places where they have big parking lots and they're concerned about people, all coming at the same time, which has happened. They're
Right.
closing those down, but we can still go to a lot of beaches and things. But it's you know we have this very narrow kind of range of possibilities. And
Yeah.
thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure if things are going to come back the way that they were. There are a lot of things I can't imagine coming back the same, and that will be interesting.
It will be. And so with that being said, the last zone on this is the growth zone. And so that's where we think of others. And I think a lot of light workers and different healers and that this is kind of where they're sitting. I mean, doesn't mean we don't pop back and forth in some of these zones, but we think of others and see how we can help them. I make my talents available to those who need them. I live in the present and focus on the future. I am empathic with myself and with others. I thank and appreciate others. I keep a happy emotional state and spread hope. I look for a way to adapt to new changes, and I practice quietude, patience, relationships, and creativity. And I love this graphic because I think it encapsulates this experience and where we were and where we want to go. And I know that what you do, Jane, helps people get in, let me go backwards. Oh, there, the growth zone, right? You know, that's really where we want to be. And and so, you know, that's kind of the whole lesson right now is to find those higher aspects of ourselves. And one way, isn't this a great segue? One way of doing that is to do soul centering. And let me get rid of this graphic real quick. And I'm going to go back to where I was and I'll scooch back over here. And then, Jane, I'm going to turn it all over to you because I really want you to teach us how to do soul centering so that we can find ourselves more stable. For me, it's a place to get stable, it's a place to get centered, it's a place to get balanced. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's really also the other thing I think of that's important to focus on along with centering is aliveness. I call it aliveness, which is really what I think it's the same thing. Some people call it chi or life energy. It is like, and I like aliveness because you want to be in a place where you feel really alive. And it's kind of like with all of this, illness and death going on, how can we feel, alive?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is there's that distinction. Um, well, we were talking about it, kind of the contrast between the fear zone and the growth zone. The way you were looking at it is, and you can feel it in the words too. There's in the fear zone, it's fear, separation, feeling alone, kind of stressed. And if you just take in those words, I can feel my body wanting to even slump.
Yeah.
Which is,
In fact,
it
I'm
is
kind of
also, we
moving
feel it
forward.
in you can
Yeah.
feel it in your posture where you are really energetically. Whereas if you can be in a more expansive place, which is all of the things in the growth zone come from an internal state, it's love, connectedness, gratitude, feeling supported, relaxed, at peace, and then and it makes me smile just saying those words, and I can feel
Yeah.
my body, you know, straightening up.
Yeah, you kind of, yeah, come
And,
back.
and I mean, that's just a way to kind of measure. And I think regardless of what all the things we're going through, and I as I mentioned, I acknowledge we're all going through them. I'm going through it myself. Um, I think that the main focus for me is, one, being centered, and two is activating more aliveness.
Yes.
And the way soul centering is the way to do that too, because when you connect with who you are in truth, and you also connect with the potential that exists when you do that, then you do feel more alive because you connect with your reason for being here, actually.
Absolutely.
If you say it simply.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to make you full screen. I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll come back when you're done with the process. Okay? Because I want to go through it with you. I love this.
Okay, and there's one more little
Okay.
thing I want to mention before doing it too, is this is a place you're connecting actually, and it is love. You know, you're actually connecting with the truth in your heart. It's, to me, it's all pretty simple. To everything in us has a purpose, and everything has meaning. The heart is like our spiritual bridge, the place it bridges from our lower kind of our lower kind of focus into that higher focus. So
Right.
when you connect there, that's where the soul really connects with the body. And anyone who, if you doubt that you can connect with your soul, forget it. If you know, if you, and that's the thing. If you're in the state, one of those kind of a state of love and connectedness, then you're there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not, this is not really rocket science. Some people try to make it very difficult, but it isn't that difficult, other than that you might have blocks. You know, there's some kind of a fear might be preventing you from getting there. But if you, once you do that, I want to just mention some things you can do once you get into that place. You can just connect and relax in that space, and just allow it to run through your body, which feels really good, you know, and just be in a peaceful place. You can access inner guidance and wisdom, which for me was the big motivation at first. I started, one of the big, and I think it's actually a step in our growth, is you're looking to these authorities, spiritual authorities, who say, well, I know the truth, you know. And Philip and I actually were in a spiritual group where the leader had the truth, and we were all supposed to do exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And I think the wonderful thing that happened with me is I started wondering, well, if he has it, why can't I have it?
Right. Right.
You know,
You
and
don't have
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
actually led us, or led me, on that kind of search to find this, which I found in the soul centering process. So you can access inner guidance and wisdom, so you can find out, well, what, if you're wondering in the growth zone, what would be a focus for me now that would be most inspiring to me, most most appropriate. You can receive guidance on it, and I often write it down, so that's something you might do when you do this process. You
Okay.
can also connect with angels, your higher guides, um, a master's God. It's all there, and you can use the energy for healing. And that is really
I love that.
incredible what you can
Yeah.
do. Spiritual energy is the most powerful source of healing.
Yes.
So if you know this is, and then of course, learning the healing techniques is another layer. Although
Yeah.
you can just ask for light, and we can do that. I'll do that in the process. I'll ask for light to come down and heal too. Um, so now I'm ready to start.
Okay. Take it away, Jane.
Okay. And as I mentioned, this is something you can be spacious with it when you have the time to do so. I'll just take the time that I have here. And the thing to do to start, I'm going to kind of get myself here settled a little bit. You want to just be comfortable in your chair. Although I find, actually, if you want to run energy, having your body actually being in good posture actually helps. That's the most efficient place, kind of a position you can be in to run energy. So I like to be sitting straight up. And then you can close your eyes and just start breathing in some beautiful, pure energy and light, sending that throughout your body as you inhale. And then as you exhale, just allowing yourself to release any tension you notice in your body, anything you don't need right now. any bad energy you might sense around you, so that with every breath you feel clearer. Just sending that energy to any place you might, if you feel any tension, we often carry it in our neck and shoulders, or just anywhere in your body that needs more light, you can send that energy there. And it's also wonderful. Breathing helps you to connect with your body, which means also get out of your head. We're so often we're controlled by the thoughts that go through our minds so much. So you can also breathe that beautiful light into your brain, into your mind. And as you do it, just ask any thoughts that you don't need right now to drift off for now. I often see them in little bubbles, like cartoon bubbles, and they drift away. And you want the rational mind to feel respected, so you can say, well, you can come back and evaluate this when we're done. Right now, we need to just be focused on the process. I think that usually helps to convince the rational mind it can let go a little bit, so you can feel more at peace with every breath. And then a wonderful thing to do, realizing we pick up energy from other people and other places, is just ask it to go back. Any energy that's not your own, that's in your space, which includes your body and that beautiful ball of light around you, just ask any other energy that's not yours to go back where it came from now, lovingly. And you might feel as you do that clearer, like there's more room to be yourself, and that's really the point. And we similarly leave bits of our own energy in other places and even other times. So you can just ask also to have that energy return to you, so you can just be here in the moment and be yourself. And you might feel that too. You might feel energy coming back to you. And then just focus on breathing and noticing how it feels just breathing and being in your body. And then you can start breathing more loving energy, breathing in that beautiful love into your body, and specifically into the area around your heart. I kind of intuitively like to put my hand there, right around the thymus gland in the center of my chest, which is associated with the heart. And just allow that energy in your heart, that love in your heart, to expand out as you breathe more into it, more light into it. And you might feel it. You might feel energy expanding there. You might also, if you're more visual, you might see it, like there's a light in your heart that becomes brighter as you breathe into it. And as you notice that, just allow it to start to radiate out from your heart, that love and light, filling your whole body with it, every cell. Sometimes I like to think of putting little hearts into every cell. My body tingles. I think they really like that. And then just as that becomes even stronger, allow it to radiate out around you, that love and light, filling your whole energy field with it. And as you do that, also realize that you're in a space that's safe right now. And you can just also allow that energy that is you to expand out even further than usual. It's all one in the end. We go out into infinity in a way, but we contract ourselves to fit, kind of like we have to fit into society. This moment is your moment when you can just be you. So you can allow yourself to expand as much as you want. And just notice how that feels. So I was suggesting you might be able to just rest in this place and let your body feel the love. Let the cells feel the love. Maybe there are parts of your body that you're not accustomed to loving, where you can send that love now. And then as kind of a higher dimensional approach to it, your source is a light above you. You can imagine that light above you, which is it's like the sun. You can allow that light to start radiating down over you. It's a higher dimension, a higher frequency of energy, and allow that to radiate down through the top of your head, again filling your whole body with that higher light to the tips of your fingers, the tips of your toes, and then radiating out again around you, filling that whole space that is your energy field with that higher vibration of energy. When I was talking about aliveness earlier, I was thinking that one of the things that you can do with that light that's coming down from your source is to ask it to send down a specific frequency of energy. Like you could ask, for instance, to send down right now a kind of bubbling with joy energy, and just feel what that feels like to have that coming down from the Creator to you, and notice how that feels in your body. You might even feel kind of like giggling a little or smiling. You can ask for any particular quality, or just like, I want to have the perfect energy I need now, just to be able to be myself and feel fully alive. And allow that to radiate down and feel yourself being you. And this is the solution also to that kind of concern about I'm not worthy, or I'm flawed, or I'm not good enough, or whatever it is that we might think about ourselves that prevents us from feeling connected. When you're in this place, you have the potential of sensing the truth that we're all one with God, we're all one with our Creator. We are deserving of love, and we're love itself. And that's every one of us here for a perfect reason. That we have a reason for being alive. We have special gifts, and it's not what someone might have criticized you for. It's not about that. It's about, what are the gifts I came to share. You know what, at this time, Jeryl was suggesting going into that growth mode. What is the right direction for me now to focus where I can feel most alive and like I'm contributing something to the world? Can ask those questions and receive guidance on it. You can allow yourself to be able to sense or see the angels who are always with you, the guides, the masters, all those beautiful beings in the higher dimensions who are here with us all the time, and we don't even know it. You can just bathe in all of the potential that's here. And you can also bring it back. You don't have to like go to this other place to be able to feel love, to be able to fill your body with love, to breathe in love. And as we return now to the conversation with Jeryl, can also realize that we're not leaving this behind. You can be in this state of connectedness, and ideally, my focus is to be there as much as possible. I mean, all the time would be nice, but we don't have to also expect perfection from ourselves. So just now focus on, you can even breathe in more active energy so you can feel alive and alert. As we prepare to open our eyes again. And I just feel right now, I feel immense gratitude for everyone who's here and the good that you're doing in the world. And I'm just so grateful, and grateful to be here myself, to have this opportunity. So again, you can breathe in more active energy and feel yourself grounded. This is not about being out of your body. This is about bringing spirit fully into form. So feel yourself in your body in the moment, and we can come back and have more of a conversation. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow. I love that. I never get tired of that. Thank you.
Me
Oh,
neither. Well, we do it. I was telling Jeryl earlier, Philip and I are getting together. We do this especially now, together every morning, and we write down our guidance, like what do they want us to know today.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
and that takes us to that place of aliveness, and even feeling good about where we are. And you might feel guilty about feeling good here, but it's the best gift you can give to others is to feel connected and in a place of truth yourself.
Absolutely. Our as healers, light workers, the goal right now is to replace the fear with love. Again, it
Right.
goes back to we're all connected. And so if it is a collective consciousness, every thought, every word, every feeling that I have, it is added to that collective consciousness. So if I go within and I heal myself and I keep my thoughts and my words and my feelings of a high vibration, I am adding that to everyone else's at the same time. So it we do sometimes think that that we go kind of into that guilt or shame because, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be feeling good when so many people are suffering. Well, that's old programming. That's old belief systems. This is why we're here. This is why we prepared for as long as any of us have. For me, it's been about the same length as you, around 3.5 decades. And I know that ages us, but hey,
That's okay, right?
who cares? Hey, we're just, I've earned every one of these wrinkles. Trust me. And there's a good story behind each line. But that's the whole point. That's why we're doing this. And I want to be part of the solution. And I think
Right.
that's Jane, and you have all the different love. You have all these things going on. And this helps us contribute positively to the collective consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Just be, if you are in that kind of a place of connectedness and vibrating love, just being where you are is a gift to the world,
yes,
because that energy is emanating out into your community, and wherever you go, you're sharing that with other people.
absolutely. When I go out in the store, and even long before this, I'm one of those people that I must look like the village idiot because I swear I go through the store and I just look at everybody and I smile and I say hi. And when I get it, oh, I love to get a really cranky checkout person. I love it because it's like, man, I'm really sorry. You're having a really bad day, aren't you? And I just want to send you some love and get them talking. And it's my goal that by the time I get through that checkout line, that at least they smile once. And it is those simple acts of kindness. Like you were saying, people right now, they're afraid to look at each other. And I've heard this from a lot of different people. So,
Mhm.
what are some of
Well,
the
it's been in California. It's been a couple weeks, so people, it's like you kind of narrow down,
Yeah,
and that's just where people
yeah.
are.
And I know our friend Karen Palmer, she lives about 20 minutes from you. She went out and, she was in her town and going down her street. And I was like trying to make eye contact with people to kind of draw them in and say, hey, I mean, we don't have to be, we can't be 6 feet, closer than 6 feet, but we can still look at each other and hi and
Hmm.
share a smile. And I've seen people that are in our Angelic River family that they've been doing some lives. They go out in the woods or whatever, and they might come upon somebody on a trail, and you can hear them saying hi to each other. And you can almost hear that joy in the other person's voice, just to have that contact. And um, so, what are some of the other things? Oh, there's your baby.
There's
That's
something else.
yes, I
If you
know.
want to feel happy.
I know. That is one way. I have my two fur babies, Siegel and Hope,
Right.
and we
Yeah.
also
You
have
should have a good.
Brooke. We have a cat, Hope, and they do. Animals really help us.
Yeah, see, I can't help it.
I know, I
So
know. I
silly.
just
They're so
love
silly.
that. That's your new one,
This
right?
is the
That's
new
your
little
new
baby.
baby.
She's been
Yeah.
with us a month now. We were lucky we got her just before
God.
everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was from a kill shelter, they told us.
Oh my God.
So,
Well, I
so
think
you're
she's a
just a
happy
stage mommy.
rescue. I love it. I love it. See, and that's something else, the love we get from our animals. I
Simple
know
joy.
when Terry
Yeah.
and I do the morning show, it's there's Angel on one side of me and Brookie on the other side of me on the bench, and they're just
Right.
cuddled in and they feel that love, they feel the energy. And that's the thing. People can use this soul centering to we hear this a lot. What can I
What
do?
did?
What can I do
You have to go
to
downstairs.
help the world right now? And there's a lot of things that we can do. And one of them is do this soul, start doing the soul centering. I know Terry was gonna, she's putting in the tiny URL to go to show them how to, the recording for this. But do that because once you get in that space, then you can say, okay, what I know I'm here for a reason. What is it?
What is it?
And
Yeah,
it will
that's
help
always
you.
interesting. Yeah.
And I know you and Philip did a couple of weeks ago. You did a show, one of your broadcasts, and you talked about some of the things that you can do. And I know that people might think it's a bit redundant, but quite honestly, I could use a lot of reminders myself. And so if you could kind of, is there a couple other things that you can think of that,
Oh, ways that to feel good.
yeah, just lift up your vibration and keep your
Mhm.
vibration high? That
Mhm.
one did it for me. That's like, I was like sitting there when you said joy, I'm like, da, 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 da.
Yeah,
Dancing
it's interesting.
feet.
If you ask for bubbling with joy energy, I can't help but smile, and I do feel it's
Yeah,
like you feel champagne in your body or something.
I
So,
know. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, I
So,
think if you can make that simple distinction between fear and love, and
yes,
understand love is connectedness, well, just hugging your husband, hugging a family member who you can,
yes, right. Safely. Yes.
or your
Well,
dog. You
yeah.
know, I mean that brings the joy right away. Gratitude,
Yes. Yeah.
and I know that's something you and Terry focus on a lot too. It's
Yeah.
very, and it's interesting. You don't have to be grateful for something big. You can be grateful that you woke up this morning. You can be
Oh,
grateful to have a glass of water next to you, or
you know,
it's
I
it's the energy, not the
it is.
subject of it.
People said, this is kind of like going through a natural disaster. Well, you know what? I've been through a lot of hurricanes. I've counted, I've been through about a dozen hurricanes and tropical storms. And we lose our power. We lose our we lose all of our power. We lose our internet. We lose our phone. I mean, you want to talk about isolated? We're isolated. And when you think, was it Puerto Rico that got pretty much
Yeah.
wiped off the map? They went through that for months and months and months, a year. And so I don't get me wrong, I do not underestimate the tragedy and the scope of what we're going through. But how blessed and how grateful I am that in this, we can do this. You and I can sit here and talk and share ways for people to get through it. We didn't
Hmm.
lose our power, we didn't lose our
Right.
internet. Now, I know Facebook has been kind of funky and that it does happen where it goes out. And because there's such a draw on social media right now,
Right. Yeah.
but we have so many advantages, even though we're having to sacrifice here and sacrifice there. We still have so many advantages to be grateful for so that we can, even though we have to physically distance ourselves, we don't really have to socially distance ourselves. You and I are socially
Yeah.
interacting here quite well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have been a lot lately. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, and I love that.
yeah,
And also, but I think that was a great point about when you imagine disasters. When I think of pandemics, of course, you see the movies that have been on
yeah,
on TV, and it's kind of like you lose everything. We go to the grocery store, it's stocked full of stuff. We can buy all the things we want, and right now we're treating ourselves a little more because we can't go out anywhere.
right.
And you come home, you have power, you have heat, you have all the comforts of home still. And I mean,
Right.
we make special meals, and of course, just do all the things we can do around the house and enjoy. We are very blessed to have a really nice house, and also keep things like I have lots of, you can see little things that represent love, heart earrings. I keep a lot of things with
Wow.
hearts around me to remind myself that love is really it.
And I love your artwork back there. You did that. One of the things that we didn't list was that Jane is an artist, and she's an incredible artist, and she does the artwork for the books. She does the artwork with that. You see behind her, there's that picture with the hearts with the different colors. That's hers. And so I think too, I'm fine. It's so fun because I have some friends who have children that are home, and even I have, started doing a little bit of craft stuff. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the time to get creative. This is a
Mm-hmm.
time to say, oh, well, I've kind of been thinking about doing this, and now I have some time. So just little things like that, nutrition,
Simple pleasures, right?
exercise, yeah, simple pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jane, we're coming up. Boy, did this hour go fast.
I
Holy,
know it does, doesn't
no,
it?
no, I love talking to you. Of course, we do this all the time.
Right.
Jane has to make sure when she calls me that she gives plenty of time because I'm one of those people, I'm famous for this, that will go, okay, we got to go now. And 15 minutes later, I'm going off on a tangent. And so I really, truly am working diligently at not doing that. So I have to really rein it in when I do the show. But Jane, how can people get a hold of you if they want to ask for your assistance, or if they are interested in the holistic coaching class? That was, oh my gosh. I mean, I should be the poster child for that class. I truly should be, because it changed my life in so many ways.
Yeah, it's interesting with all that's happening. We have more people inquiring about the coaching program right now, and have had a couple people already sign up for the next one, which is not starting until June.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
An
think people
at-home
are
business.
realizing you have to stand up right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, the main page of our website, we have a very large website. It's gettingthrough.org, which is gettingthru.org. People often build in the THROUGH just
Yeah.
because
Right.
they can't help themselves. .org/holistic, HOLISTIC. That's our main page.
Okay.
Um, we You can poke around from there. There are just all kinds of places you could look. Our classes are all listed. If you can, there's a contact us form. You can contact us. We have strategy sessions if people are interested in the programs, want to know more specifically. And that other link, the tinyurl.com/soul-center, is
Uh-huh.
that goes to the page on soul centering, with the soul centering process. And there
Okay.
are just all kinds, there's piles of stuff there. We've had that website since the late 90s, so it's
Oh,
big.
wow. Okay.
And
Okay.
there are free things, we have free this and that.
I know you guys have written what, 5, 6, 7 books? I've
Lots of,
lost,
well, books and manuals, more than a
yeah.
dozen
I
altogether.
I've lost track. You guys, you're always coming out with a new one, and every one is better than the one before, if that's possible. I mean, I love the one that we did the interview on last
Oh,
year.
the ultimate paradigm shift.
Ultimate Paradigm Shift. Yes, that's
That actually is a really good book to get if you want to just to know how to keep your spirits up and kind of move forward in a really positive way. The ultimate paradigm shift, it is about shifting from a fear reality to a love reality. And you can get that on Amazon, the ultimate
yeah.
paradigm shift.
Yeah, do get it. I
Jane
I
Mansfield.
I got the book I wanted to read it before Jane came on, and oh my gosh, I couldn't put it down. It's amazing. I got little notes everywhere on it. So,
Yeah.
um
Our next book is called Soulfulness.
oh really? Okay, let me know when it comes out. I want to
It'll
get
be a while yet.
it. Okay, we'll give you a little break. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll give you a
We've
break.
been working on it for about a year now.
Well, Jane, I can't thank you enough. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, let me put my little thing up here. You can reach me at jeryland.com, my website, or Jeryl Heatherdale is my Facebook page. So, and I also have the Healing Heart and Jeryl. You know, that's the beauty of having a unique name. You just put Jeryl Ann, and there's not very many of me out there. So it
Right.
works really, really well. I'd like to
Yeah.
thank Enlightened World Network for making me a part of their family, and thank Jane. I could talk to you forever. You know that you have before. So I appreciate the soul centering. I appreciate everything that you brought here tonight. And I know our viewers appreciate you as well, because this is the time we need these tools, we need these ideas. And next week, join me as Karen Palmer
Ooh.
is my guest. And oh my gosh, it would, I mean, she's the queen of kindness. And I mean, she is involved in so many things. And she's kind of like the Energizer Bunny on steroids. I mean, just talking to her lifts your spirits. So join me next week as we do that. And thank you. And thank you. What's your baby's name again?
Foxy.
Foxy, thank you, sweetheart, for being on Rising Up with Jeryl Ann. You come back and visit me, okay?
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Jeryl.
thank you so much, Jane. And good night, everybody. We'll see you next Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Bye bye now.